All right, let's dive in. Ever get that feeling like you're living your life under a microscope? Today, we're going to get into the psychology of you, who you think you are, and maybe more importantly, how that identity gets built piece by the social world all around us.
Okay, so let's start with a feeling that I bet every single one of us knows. That super intense, kind of awkward feeling that you're always on stage, right? Like there's this invisible audience just watching your every move.
Picture this. You know the drill. You're heading to a big event, and you've got one tiny thing wrong. A weird colic, a tiny coffee stain on your shirt, but in your head, it feels like a giant, flashing neon sign pointing right at you. You're just convinced it's all anyone is going to see. But then, as the night goes on, you realize, wait a minute, nobody said a thing. Nobody seems to have even noticed.
So, good news. It's not just you being paranoid. This is a real, documented thing that psychologists call the spotlight effect. And it's basically this. We all tend to massively overestimate how much other people are actually noticing us.
There's this fantastic study from Cornell University that just nails this. They had students walk into a room wearing, and let's be real here, a pretty embarrassing Barry Manilow t-shirt. The students wearing it, they were sure that at least half the people in the room would notice. But the actual number? It was less than a quarter. Most people didn't even register it.
Okay, so if nobody's really watching us as much as we think, that brings up a much bigger question, right? Let's look inward for a second. Who are we anyway? And how does that sense of self even get built?
Well, in psychology, the answer to that big question, who am I, is what we call your self-concept. And what's really cool is that neuroscientists have actually seen this in action. When you think about yourself, a specific spot in your brain, the medial prefrontal cortex, just lights up. It's like the part of your brain that's in charge of stitching together all the little threads of your identity.
But here's the thing. This self isn't just one solid block. Think of it more like a mosaic, built from different tiles. You've got your self-schemas. These are the core beliefs like I'm a smart person or I'm an athlete. They're the filters you see the world through. And then you have your possible selves. These are the daydreams, right? The you hope to become, and also the you're kind of scared of becoming. And those future visions? They have a huge impact on what you decide to do right now.
Of course, this whole process doesn't happen in a vacuum. A huge part of who we are gets forged in the fire of our interactions with everyone else. So back in the 50s, a psychologist named Leon Festinger came up with something called social comparison theory. And the idea is pretty simple but powerful. We have this deep, fundamental need to figure out where we stand. And how do we do that? We look at other people. They become our measuring stick for everything. Are we smart? Are we successful? Are we good enough?
And this explains that classic big fish, small pond effect. Think about it. The top student in a regular high school probably feels like a genius, right? But take that exact same person with the exact same brain and drop them into a super competitive elite university. All of a sudden, they might start feeling, well, kind of average. Their intelligence didn't change one bit. What changed was the comparison group. The measuring stick just got a whole lot longer.
And this isn't just about feeling smart or talented. The Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman pointed out that this is fundamental to our happiness. Our satisfaction in life often has less to do with how much we actually have and way more to do with how we're doing compared to the people right next to us.
Okay, so we're comparing ourselves to individuals, but it goes bigger than that. Our identity is also massively shaped by the groups we're a part of. Think sports teams, your friend group, your country.
The psychologist Robert Cialdini came up with this brilliant term for it, basking in reflected glory, or berging for short. You know what this is? It's why you proudly wear your team's jersey the day after they win the championship. Their glory feels like your glory.
Cialdini actually saw this happen in real time. He studied university campuses after big football games. And what did he find? After a win, suddenly the whole campus is covered in school colors. And listen to how people talk. They say, "We won." That little word, "we," is so important. Your personal identity literally expands to include the team's victory.
But what about after a loss? Oh, then it's a totally different story. All of a sudden, it's not we anymore. It's they lost. See how that works? We create this little bit of psychological distance to protect ourselves. Our sense of self is incredibly flexible. It stretches to soak up the wins and shrinks to avoid the losses.
Now let's zoom out even further, because layered over all of this is maybe the biggest influence of them all: culture. The society you're raised in gives you the fundamental blueprint for how to even think about who you are.
And this is so important to get. The idea of a self is not the same everywhere. In a lot of Western cultures, the focus is on individualism. It's all about the independent self, defined by your own personal goals and achievements. But in many other cultures, in much of Asia, Africa, and Latin America, it's more about collectivism. The interdependent self is what matters, where your identity is defined by your relationships and your role in the group.
So when you put all this together, the fact that our self-concept depends so much on what other people think, it's no wonder we all become little directors of our own personal movie, right? We're constantly trying to manage how people see us. It's called impression management.
And one of the sneakiest ways we do this is something called self-handicapping. It sounds crazy, but think about it. Let's say you have a huge exam coming up. Why would you stay out all night partying? Well, it's a brilliant psychological trick. If you fail, you don't have to say, I'm not smart enough. You can say, well, of course I failed. I was out all night. You blame the obstacle. But if you succeed, wow, then you look like an absolute genius. It's a clever way to protect your ego no matter what happens.
Okay, we've covered a lot. The spotlight effect, social comparison, culture. So what? What's the big takeaway here? How does knowing all this stuff actually help us?
I think the most important thing to remember is this. Yourself is not some fixed, solid thing that you find one day. It's a story, and it's a story that you are actively writing every single day, with every interaction, every comparison, and every choice you make.
And let's bring it all the way back to the beginning. Back to that spotlight. Remember that Barry Manilow t-shirt? Only 23% of people noticed. You know what that means? It means a whopping 77% of people in that room didn't see it at all. Why? Because they were the main character in their own movie, worrying about their own spotlight.
And really, that's the final point. Understanding all of this, it's freeing. It frees you from the pressure of that imaginary spotlight. It gives you the power to see how your own identity is constructed. And it lets you shift from being just an actor or worried about their lines to being the one who gets to write the next chapter.